Jahre österreichische Energieagentur.
Good afternoon, everyone. The good news, or the bad news, is that I'm going to be speaking in English. I'm so sorry for that. Despite having been in Austria already for 15 years, my German is not yet at the stage where I can deliver my speech in German. Anyway, it's my pleasure really to be here with you today to celebrate the 40th anniversary of the Austrian Energy Agency. Thanks for extending this invitation to UNIDO. The Austrian Energy Agency is a key knowledge partner to us in delivering our technical assistance across the world, and so is a lot of other Austrian institutions. So I'm really happy to be here today. Now, UNIDO, the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, our mandate is to promote inclusive and sustainable industrial development around the world. So we're talking about inclusiveness in a sense that no one is left behind. We have to also make sure that in developing countries and LDCs that the youth and the women are also core to our response to economic development and industrial development. Sustainability, this is what captures basically our work on environment and also energy. And so as such, it's not really a surprise that we find that sustainable energy is actually at the heart of what we are doing on industrial development. Sustainable energy is a key enabler for economic growth and also for industrialization in developing countries. And so UNIDO has been really working over the past decade on shaping the global agenda on sustainable energy, and we're very proud that actually with our former Director General we have really pushed forward the sustainable energy agenda globally, and that now actually the sustainable development goals that are in place now until 2030, they encompass two things that are really very close to our heart. The first one is actually sustainable energy with SDG number 7. That is really looking into doubling the energy efficiency rate by 2030 globally, ensuring universal energy access, and also doubling the rate of renewables in the share of the energy globally. At the same time, we have SDG 9, which is the SDG that looks into building a resilient infrastructure and also supporting the industrialization and innovation. So these are two main sustainable development goals that UNIDO works to foster and develop in developing countries. And energy, as I mentioned, is also at the heart of this, but also cross-cuts across the different SDGs. Now, yeah, we have really little time left. That's also what I gathered from my German, what also Dr. Trautmann said. We really have only 13 years still ahead of us to accomplish the SDGs. So the time is really limited. We need to act fast, and that's where basically UNIDO plays a key role in really bringing the experiences of countries like Austria and the EU, and bringing those to the countries that are still in the very beginning of their process, basically. So whereas you've been working for 40 years in the Austrian Energy Agency on issues related to energy and energy planning, some countries are really taking the first baby steps on this, and this is where we see a very strong role for UNIDO in fostering this. So UNIDO at the moment is working in over 60 countries, you can say, globally. So be it from Latin America and the Caribbean, be it in Africa, be it in Central Asia, be it also in the Eastern Europe or also in the Arabic countries. So we work across the globe in about 60 countries. Our mandate also allows us to mobilize funding to support countries in exceeding their energy goals. And the four pillars that I would say UNIDO focuses on in delivering or accelerating the energy transition in developing countries are, to start with, the policy dissemination. we know that without, the proactive policies, target setting by countries, and also without countries providing incentives for the business to actually operate, it's going to be very difficult for us to really achieve those SDGs. So this is one of the first areas that UNIDO works on, basically promoting policies for sustainable energy, supporting countries to adopt those energy targets. And for this, for example, I'd like to refer to the work that we are doing in the ECOWAS region in West Africa, and I see our colleague from the Austrian Development Agency who has also been a core partner for us in delivering support to the regional centers in West Africa. So one of the policy instruments we worked with the centers on is actually developing national energy efficiency and national renewable energy action plans, working on the standards and labels. While this might seem very sort of mainstream business for a lot of the people in this room, that's really something that we are still working to support countries in the various regions on. So policy making is one of the first pillars that we really work on. With the Austrian Energy Agency, one of the tools that we also foster to support the decision making is benchmarking. And we have relied quite a lot on the Austrian Energy Agency to train people in different regions and countries. Ukraine, Russia, Egypt are among the countries that I personally have actually worked with teams from the Austrian Energy Agency on, and then applying the calculator for energy benchmarking that is openly used now on the websites of the Energy Agency. This is something that we are also fostering in more and more countries around the world. So that is the first pillar, really, policy. I think it's a very basic driver for sustainable energy, and that's a core part of our work. The second part is actually fostering the innovation and also working on promoting new technologies, be it for energy efficiency or be it for renewable energy. So we really work on promoting demonstration projects, particularly focusing on the use of energy in industry, so reducing the demand of energy in industry. For example, I'll take the example of the beer brewing industry, where we could really achieve significant reductions, first by applying energy efficiency, but then also by applying solar thermal technologies. So what we try to do in all countries where we work is to provide a great number of demonstration projects that can be used as a reference, because I know that a lot of people here are also representing private sector, and I think what we notice works in private sector is actually this kind of Me Too effect. So when industries see that someone else has done it, that this technology is well demonstrated, that it's working, they will also want to apply. When they hear of the results that are achieved, they will also want to join that. So that's the second axis of our work, basically showing that technologies are out there, they work, they produce results, and they can be trusted. But we are not only looking into technologies that are out there. Obviously, without fostering the innovation, we're not going to get into we're not going to achieve the goals of the SDGs. So that's where we also work on fostering innovation, and one of the programs that UNIDO has been leading together with the Global Environment Facility is the Global Clean Tech Innovation Program. So this is really a program where we invite small and medium-sized enterprises from countries where we work. At the moment, the program is running in about 10 countries. So we invite them to actually participate and express the innovative ideas that they have, which are still more or less at the product development phase. And the winners of this program are then accompanied through a mentorship process where we really help them to build their business plan and also to connect to investors who could be interested in the products that they have innovated. Obviously innovation is very diverse, but I would really also like to emphasize the fact that innovation is really very much relevant to the countries where we are working. So what might be innovative in a country like Ethiopia, where we are working on developing energy efficient stoves for their bread baking is different obviously from the innovation related to electric vehicles, where we are working with China on building an infrastructure for electric vehicles, but also for promoting new types of manufacturing for electric vehicles. So innovation is really very much country specific and country relevant, and in general in all of our work we really focus on what the countries need and where the country's baseline is for us to define the next step. The third pillar of our work is actually on developing the local skills and capacities. You'd be surprised if I tell you that I'm not going to say what country, but in some countries where, for example, there were huge power plants built for solar, sometimes some of these plants are unoperational because of a very small technical problem, and because I mean they will have to wait for the installer or the technology provider to fly from Germany or from any other country to come and take care of that repair. These technologies are still new to developing countries, so we see a very strong role for us in actually developing and providing training for the technicians and also the engineers in developing countries to be able to develop projects, but also to work on the operation and maintenance of the various technologies. And that's also, again, an area where we rely on a lot of expertise of the Austrian Energy Agency, but also of a lot of Austrian businesses. Now, these are the pillars, so policy, capacity building, technology. And then the fourth pillar that we really work on is creating global platforms for action, and action on specific topics. So for example, I don't know how many of you attended the Vienna Energy Forum last week, but at the forum we actually announced a new partnership with the Sustainable Energy for All initiative and also with Enel, the global utility, to accelerate the rate of electrification globally. Many countries in Africa are still suffering because they have more than 40% losses in the distribution and transmission of energy. That's a very big opportunity to actually also improve access to some of the people in Africa. Working on off-grid and solutions is another. So we work really on setting up platforms that bring together the private sector, the financiers, the technology providers, the policy makers to drive action on electrification. And another program that is of a similar nature, which has been actually operational for the past year or so, is the Industrial Energy Efficiency Accelerator. And before I go on, actually, I'd like to request the technician, if possible, to play a video that would explain to you briefly what the accelerator is about. So that's exactly the message I'd like to leave this room with, actually, action. I mean, we really need concerted action by all of the parties. We really need cooperation of everyone. No single actor can actually achieve the SDGs alone. We really need to work on this together, and I'd like to invite you to be part of these platforms, because I know that Austria has a lot of good experiences to offer, and we are very happy to help in facilitating this. Once again, I'd like to congratulate the Austrian Energy Agency. Happy birthday. And I wish you all the best, and to continue with this championing role that you play, not only in Austria, but also around the world, and for helping UNIDO in so many countries as well. Thank you.